A few years ago, I went down to an alternative medical clinic to see that had just opened up in town. I wanted to see what was down there. And after being given a lecture on rosewater for what must have been 15-20 minutes, they showed me a bunch of their contraptions. They let me lie on their soundboard, which was a bed with speakers underneath that played this harp music that went up and down your spine and all sorts of things like this. And the last thing they showed me was a goofy looking contraption that was sat in the middle of a room with a bunch of chairs encircling it. And the women sat down, they were all women, sat down in the chairs, and I sat down with them, and they turned this thing on, and it sounded like something like from a Frankenstein movie. And they explained to me that it was Tesla's technology. And I thought, my God, the superstitious nonsense that is required to take Tesla's technology that was honest to God and onto something and try to apply it into this context in which we're sitting around, imagine if you will, sitting around in a circle as if it was a campfire. She turned down the lights even for effect. And here's this glowing cylinder making these zappy, buzzing noises. Very loud, too. We had to raise our voices to talk with each other. And here we are, myself sat with all these other women with these goofy little crystals hanging around their neck, and they're doing all this sort of swaying thing in order to heal themselves. To their credit, it's an error that they didn't come up with. It's an error of humanity that has been around for a long time. And that is to take the discovery of one thing and appreciate it for all of its worth, and then over-appreciate it, and try to use it as a magic bullet for every problem in their life. If you would have taken that piece of equipment and put it into a car, it would have been one of the most fuel-efficient things in existence. But no. You're going to sit it in the middle of a room, turn the lights down, and watch it glow, hoping that your cancer goes away. If I have you riled about this, then that's good. Because it's not just Tesla that is being manhandled like this. Today when we talk about philosophy, we are going to run into words like better than. We're going to run into words that act as adjectives to indicate that other words are either in a good relationship or a bad relationship with some kind of criterion. Now, the criterion is normally just implied, but that's a problem for most people because they never actually explicitly define what that criterion is. You might have heard things like progress, practicality, utility. All these sorts of things are indicative of relationship. It either is very much progress or it is not progress. And there's a gradient in between. What is the variable what is the criterion that dictates the variable of how much progress is being achieved or how little progress is being achieved? What is the criterion that dictates the variable to tell us how useful a thing is, how practical a thing is? You see, probably the only real, Tesla, I think, was cut short in many ways. But another giant, of course, is Darwin. Now, Darwin wasn't an inventor, he was a thinker. And he described the origin of species, speciation. And by God, it has had a tremendous effect on virtually every single branch of science since then. My thesis in college was even evolution theory as it applies to conformity behavior. Talk about a pigeonhole in context of the entirety of what it influenced. Tremendous fireworks are going off here. But then something had begun to happen. Not Darwin's fault. Not even Darwin's ideas' fault. It's people's fault. People took this fantastic idea and started to assume, ignorantly and superstitiously, that it could solve the problems elsewhere in their life. Just like those goofy middle-aged women with the crystals around their neck sitting in front of a Tesla machine. Darwinian ideas have become a romantic explanation of just about any philosophical question you can throw at it. When you ask someone, what do they mean by practicality? What does it mean to be practical nowadays? That word did not always mean what it means today. That's because the criterion is different. It changes. The criterion today has a very fishy relationship with Darwinian ideas. You see, Darwin said basically we are here as a result of surviving in a game of chance. From that, some of us have decided that survival is a good thing. Why? They can't tell you. That's a philosophic endeavor, not a scientific one. But they don't care. It says that it's good to survive, therefore we ought to do more of it. Yes. Never mind that we've never said why it's good to survive. We don't need that. We just keep going full steam ahead. And here's where it leads us. Then we say it's good to survive, and therefore anything that we can do to increase our survivability is also a good thing. By God, it's even an ethical thing, a moral obligation. And so we, the romantic Darwinian romanticists, take the institutions of society and program them such to increase our survivability. The end results, at least one example of many, is the notion that the proper role of government is to pay all of our medical bills. Never mind that the category of any particular thing ought to be what we use to define its purpose, or define its value, or define what ought to be done with it. Never mind that. What rather we want is to take a Tesla machine and apply it to every situation because it works really goddamn well in one situation. It's nothing new. It's the same error of humanity that has been committed time and time again. Are you committing it?